The Barcelona Grand Prix is behind us, along with a first significant portion of the 2025 Formula One season, a round that further confirmed the dominance of the McLaren MCL39, despite the arrival of a technical directive that was supposed to reset everything. As every year, the Montmeló track helped to reveal both the strengths and weaknesses of each car. The latter seemed to be absent on the McLaren, with the secret behind its enormous advantage discovered exclusively trackside. A feature that, however, also brings some significant challenges, echoing Lando Norris's remarks. At last Sunday's Spanish Grand Prix, we observed the behavior of the cars through the numerous corners on the circuit, a tough test for aerodynamics and chassis alike. Stationed at Turn 9 during qualifying, interesting details emerged about the behavior of the RB21, MCL39 and SF-25. As explained in the initial article, the differences are minimal, but in Formula One, it's the fine details that make all the difference. Clear images from the 4.657-kilometer Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya confirm a flat McLaren which appears not to lean, unlike the Red Bull and Ferrari which do so, albeit slightly. This behavior was confirmed by sources from rival teams after seeing our photos and hypotheses. We are talking about a car with no roll, achieved through refined work on the internal elements and kinematics of both front and rear suspension. At the heart of the issue is the concept of roll, that slight movement around the car's longitudinal axis when taking a corner, accompanied by a lateral load transfer. This movement revolves around a virtual point called the roll center, whose position relative to the car's center of gravity, also known as cog, has a major impact on cornering performance. If the roll center is nearly aligned with the cog, as in McLaren's case, the suspension barely moves at all. The result is an extremely flat setup, with practically zero roll gradient, allowing precise control of ride height and keeping the diffuser consistently in its peak efficiency window. If lower, the suspension has greater travel and shows a slight hint of roll. This enables variable increases in aerodynamic load, as the rear lowers at the right time and channels more air through the diffuser. The key work, primarily on the rear suspension, is the product of a refined interplay between internal kinematics and a superb suspension layout. Springs with progressive behavior, stiffening as load increases, provide an extraordinary advantage. Soft at low speeds for traction and rotation, firmer and more reactive at higher speeds. In simple terms, the MCL39 corners as if it were on a straight. This allows the car to never lose downforce, something extremely harmful in high-speed corners or direction changes. It's almost as if the MCL39 behaves like a go-kart at high speeds, but with vastly superior downforce. Lando Norris was right about a superior, but not easy McLaren. The flip side of this coin is crucial. While the car is extremely fast and reactive during changes of direction, it also presents considerable challenges for the drivers. The earlier reference to load transfer is key here. When a driver feels the load shift, they know how far they can push the car, something the two McLaren drivers seem unable to do. Once the car reaches its grip limit, the slightest additional input results in a sudden loss of control, without any warning. This explains why, in the early races of the 2025 Formula One season, Lando Norris was heard complaining about a car that, while fast, was very difficult to drive. This fully clarifies the situation and proves the work done by Rob Marshall's teams has gone beyond expectations. McLaren team principal Andrea Stella himself, moments after the podium, admitted something important. Alluding to the significant work on the rear suspension as the foundation of the car's major advantage, the former Ferrari race engineer hinted that this analysis is on the right track. His words were later confirmed by sources in the Italian media within rival teams, who also see the MCL39 as a car without roll. This behavior obviously makes it extremely fast and agile, but it is not enough to make the MCL39 single-seater a dominant car on its own. The combination of aerodynamics, thermal management, and other factors has created a highly effective machine. Perhaps the mechanical level achieved is so refined that it even complicates the introduction of substantial upgrades, like the diffuser glimpsed at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia. The first part of the 2025 Formula One World Championship is therefore turning out to be a bitter disappointment for the prancing horse, which lined up at the start as one of the main contenders for the title. Ferrari is not living up to the preseason declarations. McLaren is the undisputed top force in the paddock, while the Italian side is struggling. The SF-25, over 9 Grands Prix, has only reached the podium 3 times, all thanks to Charles Leclerc. The Monegasque driver is trying to extract maximum performance from a car that still seems too fragile and complicated. After Barcelona, the 27-year-old driver called for fixes to the SF-25. Charles Leclerc said that unless the Maranello team's engineers and technicians introduced updates very soon, he believed it would be difficult to fight consistently for the podium. And Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur has asserted that he can understand Charles Leclerc's growing impatience towards the team's uncompetitive position in Formula One in 2025. The Monegasque driver entered the season insisting that both titles should be Ferrari's aim amid the late resurgence in 2024 that almost saw it steal the Constructors' Championship. However, the Italian marque has been unable to build on that momentum as struggles with a troublesome SF-25 car have seen it go winless in the opening 9 races. That has consigned Ferrari to languishing a mammoth 197 points behind McLaren, the reigning champions having dominated the season with 7 victories to date. Charles Leclerc's irritation at Ferrari's bleak situation was exhibited last month when he expressed that a huge upgrade is essential to salvage the Maranello team's prospects. Frédéric Vasseur stated that he had no issue with Charles Leclerc's comment, acknowledging that all drivers are naturally inclined to demand constant progress. He said that every Monday he pushes the team to find more performance, and pointed out that this is a common mindset across all teams on the grid. According to the French manager, even at McLaren, despite leading the championship, the drivers are likely urging their team to continue improving. Frédéric Vasseur added that he would be both disappointed and surprised if either of his drivers ever told the team to relax, because everything was perfect. The Ferrari team principal continued by noting that, in his experience, no driver has ever said the car was fine and upgrades were unnecessary. Charles Leclerc has continued to excel despite Ferrari's underwhelming beginning as he has outraced 7-time Formula One champion teammate Lewis Hamilton in all but one race so far. Frédéric Vasseur, who was Charles Leclerc's team boss in his debut F1 season at Sauber back in 2018, reckons the 8-time race winner is operating at his best level inside and outside the cockpit. The Frenchman expressed in a recent interview with the Italian media that Charles Leclerc's work had been commendable, noting that he had secured Ferrari's 3 podium finishes in the 2025 Formula One Championship. He remarked that compared to the past, the Monegasque driver had made significant progress in terms of clarity about his needs and had become more direct in communicating with the Ferrari engineers and technicians. The growing discontent around the Maranello team has led some to speculate that Charles Leclerc's impatience is becoming irreversible. The number 16 driver of the Italian team has always professed loyalty to the prancing horse, but, now in his 7th year with the team, success still seems like a mirage. But Fred Vasseur said he was not concerned. The French team principal took the opportunity to praise his driver, highlighting that Charles Leclerc had always been devoted to Ferrari with his entire career, starting from the academy and his early days in GP3, marked by a single color. The Ferrari team boss added that his driver felt connected to the company and the team was not seeking a better seat elsewhere and considered himself part of the project and the Ferrari family. Fred Vasseur emphasized that he held great respect for him because of that.